Hey, everybody, I'm Corey Minton, and I'm excited to welcome you back to another edition of Data Drivers. We are super excited to have you join us here today. We are actually going to be building visualizations for the pit wall for our teams at Shadow McLaren, and I'm joined by my buddy, Kyle Prince. Kyle, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. It's Friday. It's in the middle of summer. It's warm. Might go to the pool this weekend.
Let's get weird.
Time, man.
That's
How you doing?
Man, I'm awesome. It's candidly, this is another one of those where, from a hackathon perspective, I'm excited because it's actually sort of this blend of like art and design with technology in a meaningful way. So I'm excited. I'm glad to have everybody join us. I think it'll be fun and it's going to be a good time. But for those of you who maybe don't know what exactly we're talking about when we talk about this data drivers thing, Kyle, why don't you explain exactly what this series is all about?
Yeah, so if this is your first time seeing us, welcome. If you have any questions or want to sign up, that QR code that way,
I did it backwards
right
too.
there, hit your phone there, and that will take you to our registration page. And we have two different ways you can participate with us. The first one being racing. So if you're watching us via Twitch, just check a couple previous streams back. We actually procure and race once a month with Splunk partners, Splunkers, friends, and even usually a member of the McLaren Shadow esports team through the iRacing platform. And we have a dang good time doing it. I am not great at it, so don't feel like you have to be awesome at it. I've only been doing this year, having a blast with it, and we're here to have fun.
And shout out to Haley Ferrario, who signed up, joined for the very first time, and actually did pretty darn good. And she said she's coming back for the next one. So thanks, Haley, for joining us. We were super happy to have you.
Absolutely. She had a wonderful time, and I think we did as well. Now, the second part of this is the hack portion, which is what you're watching right now. And that is where we take the data that we actually generate from the race and we pump that into various products and platforms of the Splunk ecosystem. And then we walk through learning some of those tools and going through how we could maybe use those tools to answer some of the questions that the McLaren Shadow esports team can have for us. So you're welcome to join in either parts of those or both. But what you really want to do is make sure that you do scan that QR code and jump into it, because we do have a Discord server where you can be a part of the community. Now, we do have two different ways to then handle that. And I think we've talked a bit around this. We have active, which is hands-on. And that is, again, racing. You know, you will need a racing simulator, which is basically just a gaming PC. We use a steering wheel. It can cost a little bit of money, but that's through the iRacing platform. If we could make it free, I absolutely would. But the CFO in my family, I think, would have a problem with that. So it is a wonderfully fun platform. There's always races going on, and you'll see us on there normally after work hours, never during, in case you're watching Boss.
Well, now, I mean, it's actually Data Drivers is a work-related event, so it's an excuse to go racing for work's sake, because you will learn in the hackathons real valuable skills, which is pretty awesome.
Exactly. And through that too, you know, you will be given credentials to our lab environment where then you can actively participate with us, jump into our tools and labs and kind of learn a bit for yourself and have some hands-on experience where you might not normally have access to. So please come and join us. Now, if you're just kind of here to hang out, you know, and watch and just passive consumption, please log into Twitch or whatever platform you're using, chat with us. Enjoy, learn, and pose any questions you have. We're happy to answer them. And please, the number one rule is just always be kind. And, you know, please have fun with this. Yeah.
That's
now,
exactly it.
I hear we have some fun coming at Conf 21, Corey. Can you share anything around that?
I can. So I think if anybody's watched the race, you probably heard us talk about this a bit, but I am excited to say that .conf, which is Splunk's annual user conference, is happening October 18th through 21st. And it's absolutely going to be a hybrid experience, which means we are getting together in real life at a real tech conference in Las Vegas. that we will be able to be together. Now, we're going to follow all the appropriate guidelines from the government and governing bodies and implement some best practices and make it super easy for you to feel comfortable being a part of an in-person experience again. I know I'm excited about it, and I will give high fives to all those who want them. And it's also, if you're not comfortable or you can't travel for because of restrictions, budget, whatever reason, we're absolutely going to make the conference available virtually as well. And you'll also have that opportunity to do Splunk University. And if you're going to show up at .conf, easily the coolest thing that happens every year at .conf is the BOSS program, specifically the Boss of Ops and Observability that we lovingly refer to as BOO. And so you can sign up. If you sign up for .conf, you'll be able to then in the email you get in your your confirmation email, you'll be able to click and register for the Boss of Ops and Observability event. And I highly encourage you to do that, partially because I'm a little bit biased, but there's going to be 2 sweet data drivers episodes in there that are actually going to be based on the data that we've created in real life races. So one of them is likely to be based on the NASCAR Bristol race, and the other one's actually going to be based on probably Twin Ring Motegi, because we had a lot of data. We had 10 cars viewing data simultaneously, and it looks like a really fun data set with some action that I think will be fun to surface. So be sure to sign up and know the data drivers will be there. And I can't spoil all the fun, but there is going to be some data drivers experience things happening there. And given the investments that Splunk has made in our McLaren partnership, I bet you'll see some McLaren activities happening there as well. So be sure to join us at those events. I think you'll have a good time. But again, today we're here for a hackathon. We're going to get you hands-on with some Splunk tech in a second. But Kyle, walk us through what people can expect for today's session.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do not just do tech for tech's sake. We want to walk through a business problem, and we will handle that with a bit around the McLaren Shadow esports perspectives, where we'll actually chat with a member from the McLaren Shadow esports team. But before that, we'll do a challenge introduction, kind of give you a lay of the land, and then we'll jump into the esports perspective. Today we have a new guest. We've normally had Tobin Lee, McLaren Shadow esports manager, but today we were actually able to get a hold of Blake Reynolds of the McLaren Shadow eNASCAR team, who is racing in the Coca-Cola eNASCAR racing series, and absolutely wild. We got to race with him in Bristol,
and he beat the pants off of us.
Oh man, yeah. In a car that was harder to drive too.
Yeah, I was second place because I didn't pit that entire race, and I was 3 laps down. He had pitted twice.
He's that good. Like you watch it, you're like, yeah, drive fast, turn left. I get it. No,
there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it.
Yeah, it is wild. Anyways, so we're gonna chat with Blake a little bit after the challenge introduction. We'll give a Splunk technical overview, kind of frame the reason and the tech behind what we have and what we're going to use that day. And then we'll do some collaborative hacking, maybe a little bit of a dance beforehand. Collaborative hacking, this is really where that Discord server comes into play, and being a part of the community comes into play, because then if you have any questions, we're always here to help, which then lends into the homework bonus challenge, where we give you the keys to the kingdom, the keys to our lab, and we let you go for the next month until our next hackathon to work on the project. So if you maybe want to do something different, maybe expand upon what you're doing, please do that. Share it with us on socials. Use the hashtag data drivers, and we'll see what's going on, what's interesting there. And as always, please join us in our Discord server, and we are happy to chat, share, and grow and learn together within there. And then to wrap up, at the end of this session today, we will give a preview of what's going on next month in our hackathon number 6, unfortunately our final hackathon of the Data Drivers series.
Yeah, I know you say it's final, but I think there's going to be good stuff happening afterward too.
Exactly. You and I have to get our heads down and get back to work prepping for conf and all the fun we got going there, right, buddy?
That's totally true, man. Well, exactly. I'm excited to introduce today's challenge for you folks. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to build visualizations for the pit wall. And what that means is we're actually going to use Splunk's IT service intelligence capabilities. We're going to build on all the things that we built before using the services and KPIs, but we're going to create a meaningful visualization dashboard that McLaren Shadow team managers and spotters could use to guide their drivers to a win. So the idea is really basic. It's like, let's build a single view a dashboard that could land on a TV monitor, computer monitor, second screen, whatever, that would give really meaningful insights as to what's going on in the race without them having to dig through like the shadow managers and the spotters having to dig through data and like go investigate. We want to give them visual representations of what's happening. Now, to do that, again, if you're on the Discord channel, you have access to the lab. And Kyle, would you do me a favor and post just one more time, just so they're fresh at the top, the credentials and the link in Discord, which would be cool. And then we give you not only access to the labs, but we actually figured out a way to have the Bristol race data rerun over and over again. So as soon as the race is complete, it runs again. So we have a constant data stream that's pretty rad, so that you actually see everything will pop up in real time, so as if we're all on track at that time. We also have provided via the Discord channel a repository of support vector graphics images. And we'll explain why that matters here shortly, but it's really fun. And then again, we're here to help, and we've got a great subject matter expert here that's going to talk us through some fun stuff. But like anything in tech, it's really only valuable if it solves a unique problem for somebody that's trying to accomplish something. And in this case, we've been trying to support that McLaren Shadowy Sports team. So let's go check in with Blake Reynolds and talk to him real quick. Well, welcome to another edition of McLaren Shadowy Sports Perspectives. And I'm excited to say we got a little bit of somebody different on from McLaren Shadowy Sports team. We are excited to welcome Blake Reynolds, driver of the McLaren Shadowy Sports race car in the NASCAR series. We've been driving a bunch of cars, Blake, in GT3, but this last race, before we raced at the Twin Ring Motegi, we did Bristol. And it was a lot of fun, but I gotta ask, what's it like for you to compete at this level in NASCAR as a professional driver?
It is somehow forgetful in what you're racing in. It is bigger than you think it is. It feels like just another league sometimes, but when we do the prep and everything and we just jump right in, it feels like another league race. And then afterward, you're like, oh my God, that was bigger than it was.
Absolutely. Now you're not new to racing though. You've been racing a long time. Tell us a little bit about your background in motorsports.
Yeah, joined iRacing 2013. Before that, I was a PlayStation boy, NASCAR 09, NASCAR the Game 2011, NASCAR Inside Line, and then Gran Turismo was where I honed my skills in road racing. But 2013 came around. Gran Turismo 6 came out, and I was like, do I want to do this or do I want to do iRacing? Came to iRacing, slowly worked my way up, and then 2017 is when I joined the NASCAR series.
Wow. It's absolutely incredible watching you go on the track, and winning at your level has got to take a team effort as some sort of that. What kind of support do you get during these races?
Well, for me, I just have one guy. His name's Lance. He's my spotter, engineer, button clicker, whatever you want to call him. I just have him do the big stuff, and then I just handle all the little stuff. And usually in the race, once you go, you don't need a whole lot from there. But some people do have 4 or 5 people in the back end.
Wow. And what kind of things are they looking at during the race?
Well, iRacing allows you to have a crew feature. It's mostly for team racing, but you can adjust fuel. You can look at relative standings. You can make adjustments in the in-car adjustments, pit stop adjustments, all sorts of stuff.
Very cool. Now, so they're not just, I want to pull this thread because they're not just giving you advice. It's not like just a spotter that's hands off, because you said his job title includes button clicker. What kind of things can they do beyond telling you, stay left because you got a car right? There's actually some things they can do in iRacing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they can be extremely live. There's a start spotting screen that gets them nanometer close, almost exactly in time with what I'm seeing. Mm-hmm. But like I said, they can adjust fuel. They can make actual ride height adjustments like in our NASCAR stock cars. We are allowed to adjust the left and right rear on pit stops in iRacing. That's really a big thing, but adjusting fuel tire pressures is a big one too. And also, if we want to take 4 tires or 2 or none.
And with these decisions, they're not just made willy-nilly. It's not just off the cuff. What kind of information do you think a spotter would care most about during the race?
Any expanded view of what iRacing gives us. I think something like what Splunk offers in their dashboards and stuff would be something perfect for a spotter on the back end, and have it all available on the screen at the same time. That would be extremely helpful, just, in peripheral vision or just, a glance away rather than a couple of clicks.
That's perfect. That's exactly what we're here to do today. The hackers are actually going to be building that exact sort of peripheral view dashboard that is like designed specifically to give you and your team some competitive advantage. But for the folks that want to follow along with your racing, because it's been a lot of fun to watch this NASCAR series, where can folks actually find you on the track, the virtual track, so to say, in the next race, and maybe see some of this stuff in action?
Yeah, our next race is at Watkins Glen. It's a road course for our NASCAR series, August 3rd, 9 p.m. Eastern Time on a Tuesday. And we're on round 13 of 18, which means we have 6 races left. I can do math.
All right. 6 races left. Are you feeling good? Are you feeling good about your series so far?
I'm feeling good. The summer helps, and we're getting our momentum back, and we're getting the finishes I think we rightfully deserve.
Excellent. Well, I tell you what, we are cheering for you. Blake, best of luck as you round out the series. Thank you so much for joining the Data Driver series and giving us your perspective. And hopefully you like what the teams build for your spotter. And hopefully you'll come back and join us for the next episode where we're actually going to build you an in-race dashboard that you can have on maybe monitor number 4, 5, 6. I don't know which one you've got going on there, but hopefully it'll be useful to you.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
Thanks very much. Let's get back to the hackathon and get our hands on Splunk. All right. Well, it's exciting to hear from Blake. Honestly, in fairness, we did give him a preview. We actually demoed some of the things that you folks have built so far in Splunk Observability Cloud, and we started showcasing to him some of the things that we're building now. So he had a little bit of an advanced view, and I think he's kind of excited about it. One of the things I took away from our conversation was he feels like this effort we're doing here together of building data insights for him could actually help create competitive advantage and help him compete with some of those teams that, like you said, have more than just one spotter, but they have data engineers and analysts. So we're glad to be that part of his extended pit crew and honored that he'd join us. So thanks again, Blake, for that. Now I want to get to one of our favorite parts of this series is we get to introduce some really smart, fun subject matter experts to guide us, teach us, keep us out of the gutter, so to say. And Bob Lyons is the guy today. Bob Lyons, account SC for Splunk extraordinaire. Bob, welcome to Data Drivers, buddy.
Thank you. Thanks, guys, for having me.
Absolutely. Well, do us a favor, just so everybody kind of gets a quick glimpse into your life. We see some pictures here. Tell us a little bit about you.
Oh, God. Started at Splunk about 4 years ago, but I've done a whole bunch of contracting for federal and DoD agencies throughout my career. And really what I've been doing the whole time is trying to keep the systems that I've been asked to work on up and running. That's been my career.
There you go.
Hand me some stuff, ask me to make it work. And then, that never actually happens. So I really wish I had Splunk the whole time, to be perfectly honest.
Perfect. Well, one thing we did notice is your bio when building it was oddly similar to John LeBoz, who I think, aren't you John LeBoz's dad? Is that right?
That's the rumor. If you ask him, we have a fun story about that.
All right, we'll have to poke on that one. But I did also find out that we should have introduced you as, is it Reverend Bob? Are you ordained minister?
I am, and I've heard you guys I might share that with you. Is that right?
Yes, I am Brother Corey, ordained minister, and Kyle, are you? You are as well.
Yeah. Just this past year, I was able to go hitch a couple in Texas. Yeah. So
There you go. All right, so we got that going for us.
Yeah.
A couple of preachers, which explains why we talk so much, I guess. I don't know.
All
All right, Bob, do me a favor. Right? We need to get a quick rundown on what glass tables are. So
Sure.
if you do us a favor, help the folks understand what a glass table is and why it matters.
Sure. And to do that, I think we're going to start a couple steps back because you mentioned the Splunk suites of products, and one of the products in our cache here is ITSI. And you'll hear people say, ITSI, ITSI, whatever. At the end of the day, we're talking about service intelligence here with ITSI. And to do that, I think actually if anybody was on last week, you actually already saw this slide. And the reason we're bringing it up again is because this gives you an idea of what the product actually does, what the value is that it's bringing to the table. And the issue is that, I'm going to talk from the business perspective before we get into the fun stuff in a little bit here. Businesses don't know what the heck's going on with the things that they run. It's actually why I said that all that time that I was an IT admin, I wish I had Splunk, and I wish I specifically had ITSI, because you put all these things out into the world, you set them up, you connect them, you get them talking to each other, and then a month later, you have no idea what's happening anymore. Like, things happen, things don't work, someone makes a change over here. All this stuff is interconnected, and they're all trying to talk to each other. And at the end of the day, you can't keep track of it. Things go awry, and something breaks, and you go, well, shoot, I don't know. It's got to be the network, because
I thought it was always storage. I thought that was
always. It's always the network. Take it from me.
There you go.
From me. So this is where we're talking about ITSI at the high level. Enables you to get kind of the big picture, what's going on. And also, by the way, we're going to drill down into things. And so that's, what we're moving on to here. This is, I threw this slide in here actually, because I want you to be overwhelmed. This is
intentional, huh? All right.
This is intentional. This is the life of somebody who needs to understand what the heck's going on with a business service or with something they're trying to wrangle for their company. And it's complicated, right? Like, and honestly, this is what we would probably consider a really simple distillation of how to get something into ITSI. And it is. There's actually way, way, way more beyond this. But this is just a little bit of the picture. This is the high points of how we're going to profile a service in ITSI. Now, what I think is really important to note on this slide in particular is this thing, hopefully things aren't reversed for anybody looking at it, on the far left side, where we're talking about the two different types of services. This is something that I think is also really important and applicable here when we get to talking about, again, the fun stuff that we're about to get into here today. You don't have to use ITSI on technical services. People think about like, oh, I want to know what my web server's doing, or I did most of my career for Windows and Active Directory. So, oh, I want to know what my Windows box looks like. That's a technical service. And, we actually kind of figured out how to know what the heck's going on with the technical service in core Splunk years ago. And then, of course, we do that a lot better now in ITSI. But the real magic here is the business services. It's the things that go beyond, like, how's my CPU doing? Like, yeah, sure, of course we can know how a CPU is doing. Of course we can know how hot a tire is. Of course we can know whether or not my door opened or closed in my smart home, right? That stuff's pretty easy. But figuring out how all of these things interconnect, figuring out how a CPU that's running hot turns into a web service that fails on a web server over here, which turns into a sale not being made in a web store, that is the interconnectedness of things that ITSI delivers that gives us that. Honestly, I don't know, I've drank the Kool-Aid. I love Splunk, but I don't know if there's another tool out there that can do what we're talking about right now.
Well, the best part to validate that, though, is that and this is for people that know kind of inside of Splunk, you are an account SC, meaning you get to represent Splunk's entire portfolio to your customers, right? And Splunk has a portfolio across IT, security, DevOps, and the Internet of Things and industries. But what you just said matters, which is as an accountancy, this is a tool that is unique in the industry, that as you've worked with customers, it solves problems in interesting, unique ways. So that's good to hear.
100%. So what are we going to dig in today? Because I know we've talked about, you guys have talked about ITSI a little bit already. We talked about services. So what are we bringing to the table today?
Table, I got it. I like it.
I didn't mean to. I'm sorry.
I've got a lot more fun for you later. Just hang in there.
I promise I won't. What are we bringing to the table today? What feature is the glass tables? So I know you guys talked about the service analyzer before, and you probably went through the service tree some, right?
Mhm.
So that's all really cool stuff. And you're welcome, son. And that's all really cool stuff. But this glass table sits up on top of that stuff, and it really ties it all together. And that's when I'm talking to customers about what is a glass table. When do you choose a glass table over a traditional Splunk dashboard or an actionable alert or an episode or something that kind of fires automatically? Why a glass table? The reason for a glass table is when you want to tell a story, okay?
Yeah.
Again, in the IT world, we want to tell the story of a transaction. We want to tell the story of a service and how it's delivering value to that business's customers, and whether it is or not. That's the story that we want to talk about. And the story that we're about to go into right now, it is, how's my car doing on that track? And so what we're going to do is we're going to pick the important things, and we already kind of talked about it a little bit. We're going to pick the things that are important to tell that story, the story of, I want to go fast. And so we're going to figure out how to do that here with a glass table.
There you go.
Last thing I threw in here is I just wanted to show an excellent example of what a glass table looks like. This obviously tells a story. Anyone who has taken an airplane flight or tried to, actually, I should say, anyone who's tried to navigate an airport knows the pain that an airport can deliver to its customers, the pain of getting through security. And so this is actually a real world use case where San Francisco International Airport utilized ITSI and glass tables to visualize how well its security gates that were performing for its customers. And this is great. This is an example of a customer who said, I have a problem that has data below it, and I'm going to take the different pieces of data and analyze them and put them into KPIs that matter to my customers, by the way, not just to the business. And I'm going to put them up here in a very visual way so that I can say, okay, look, gate F is doing great, but gate B is trash. I need to go send some people there, figure it out.
Yep.
So this is just excellent example.
Love it. Love it. All right. So glass tables are designed to take the things that we've built so far, which are, as Bob showed in that slide, we've already built. We know what the entities are, right? There are cars, and we have the metrics coming in. We have the KPIs that we've defined in each of the services, and we broke down those. And now we're going to build that meaningful story delivering visualization that's going to make it all real. Now, one thing that I started off the conversation at the very open with this statement, which is this work is going to be a bit different because it's not all technical. There is an art and a design component to this that I think we can't actually look over, because there's this phrase that comes to mind, which is super powerful, from Stephen Covey's. If you ever read the 7 Healthy Habits of Highly Effective People, number 2 is begin with the end in mind. And the reason I say that is, with glass tables, it is critically important, and frankly, this is true of any data viz project. You really have to begin with this idea of, what is my end objective? And that objective means a couple things. Who's my audience? Like, who's going to consume this thing? It also means, what's the medium for consumption? Like, how is somebody going to interact with this thing? Is it going to be something that they open and they have on their screen in front of them, all day long? Or is it like something that they're going to have on a TV screen in a NOC? Or is it, in our case, is it something we're hoping to land on a tertiary monitor, right, for a spotter to quickly glance up at and consume data, rapidly. So we want to start with that end in mind. So with that in mind, I feel like we should do one thing real quick, which is as we think about what we're going to build, we have this sort of blank canvas. We should just do a quick recap of what we have in place today. So let's go look at our current view of our service analyzer. So this is, again, ITSI. This is the services that we've built so far, some of them built by myself and Kyle and Jenna and John, but some of them also built by you, the hackers. And we'll switch to this tree view, and this will really remind us of what I want all of us on the same page on, which is we have three main types of services that are critically important. We have our track health, which is all the cars are running on the same track. And so we care about, in that case, we've got things like air temp and track temp because temperatures matter. And we have wind, right? Wind is a value. So we want to understand those. And sure, you could build more depth in KPIs there, but we did this just for the simplicity of the learning. Then you have the car, and each individual driver has their own car that drives on the same track as everyone else. So we want this to be individualized by the entity, which is the driver. And here we've got basically metrics that fall into three categories: tires, fuel, and engine. So are the tires performing in terms of their wear and temp? How is my fuel level based on when do I need to probably take a pit stop? Because again, pit strategy was something Tobin talked over and over again about, being super critical to his job and to spotters' jobs. And then the engine is more like a check engine light. Hey, have you done something that's going to take you out of the race? Is that light going to come on? Like oil pressure is kaboom. And by the way, I didn't think that you could actually like blow an engine. Like, oh, the simulator wouldn't let you do that. This is a game. But I want to remind everybody, I don't know if y'all watched the virtual race.conf when we ran the GT3 class cars on a NASCAR track. And we were racing so closely that a bunch of us got like into a train where, we're all bumper to bumper going around the track. I blew an engine. I didn't think you could do that in the simulator, but I legit blew an engine because my oil temp and pressure got way too high because I wasn't getting enough cool air into the front of that car. So it can.
Congratulations.
I'm kind of a big deal when it comes to blowing stuff up. Okay, so those are the data points we've got. We'll kind of figure out how do we tell that story. And then we do have, again, we have the race, this is what Bob was saying before. The other two are really what I would call technical services, right? Because there's something that like the engineer, like the car engineer, maybe in iRacing's case, like the person who builds the setups for the car or the spotter might care about that information deeply, but the driver and certainly the team manager and sponsor doesn't care all that much about those. What they care about is, are we running races? Are we doing the things that impact us winning races, which means better sponsorships, more money from sponsors, more money from competing and winning purses in large events. So winning is what it's about. Go fast, win races. So here we identified that, our position in the race is probably the most important thing about are we winning or not. So we weighted our health score to be highly weighted on that. But then we also have things that are not really like car or track related technical things that can tell us, are we likely going to continue to be winning races? And that is, are we getting incidents, which in iRacing is, have we bumped the wall? Have we spun out, taken a tire off track, bumped another car? Those are all incidents. And you can actually get kicked out of a race if you get too many. Kyle, I'm not looking at you when I said that.
Whoa.
I'm just saying.
Racer, thank you.
I think your safety rating is higher than mine, just FYI.
I just enjoy incident points. That's all.
That's true.
So
the other things are like times. So the ones we picked are 2 time deltas. So they compare your current lap times to like your best lap or your optimal lap. And then frame rate. So frame rate's kind of a specific one. You wouldn't experience it in real life, but in iRacing you would, which is if your gaming rig all of a sudden stops producing the race at a high enough frame rate, your ability to drive is going to stink. Like, it doesn't matter how healthy your car is, doesn't matter how good the weather is on the track. If you can't interact with it visually, which is your only cue of what's happening besides the force feedback, you're out. So it's a pretty good indicator. Okay, so those are the things we have. Now, all that in mind, when we think about our objective, which is to build a meaningful visualization, I think we have to start with something that we always start with glass tables. If you are a Splunk customer and you've ever had a Splunk engineer like Bob Lines show up on your doorstep and say, hey, I want to help you understand how to use this thing, you might be surprised when the first thing we do isn't a demo. Is that true, Bob?
Totally. The first thing
Okay.
we do is, we need to, and the great thing, so if I were walking into this right now, I would say, wow, this is awesome because you've already got the right people in the room. That's what you need to do first. Do we have the right people in the room? Do we have the people who know anything about what we're trying to see?
We sure do, because we've got perspectives from Blake Reynolds, and then you've got Kyle and I who've been talking with Tobin. We're close to the business, but we're also the ones who have built and understand the data and know what's available to us.
That's right.
Okay.
And we even have some good services already.
We do. We have services pretty well defined. We actually understand how they're interconnected. So when I think about the visualization, I remember that this is going to go like on a screen, for a spotter. So I don't know if y'all saw, we should send a link to that post, Kyle, but McLaren posted a video this morning of their new McLaren Shadow gaming studio at the Technology Center. And it is absolutely rad. It is this beautiful, like exactly what you expect from gaming, like black racing simulators with monitors with all the logos, but then the cool like LED lights. I don't know, like, well lit, kind of funky studio feel. Anyways, super cool. Splunk's proud to be a sponsor of that studio. But my vision is that I expect that like what we build, I want to show up on that screen. Like I want it to show up on a broadcast. So I know that it's probably going to need to be like branded, like first of all. So when I think about it, I'm going to do this. I kind of like to break things into like some usable spaces. So what I think we should do is we should like carve out this middle section, because I've seen a few of their logo files where they like to have their shadow logo sort of split in the middle, right? So I think we'll do that. And I think the other thing we were talking about from a layout perspective was, one sort of design thing that happens with the human brain if you're from a Western culture. So I shouldn't say this is globally true, but from a Western culture, we typically read left to right. And so our eyes are oftentimes drawn when we, see a screen, anything, we start on the left-hand side. So in my mind, I want to put the most important, business outcome stuff on the left side. Does that make sense to y'all?
Very eccentric of you, but I'm in. Let's do it.
Very ethnocentric. It's true. I was trying to be, but I'm aware at least. And
there you go. There you go.
First spot. So we kind of have this thing halved. I think I want to do like sort of a, I don't know, this will be kind of fun. I want to do it kind of like a diagonal. And I want to basically put my race information here. So like, this is the important race thing. So we might put things like, my position, KPI, we might put frame rate, and we might put things like, what do we say also? Oh, like lap times.
Yeah.
Lap deltas. What was it, lap? Well, the delta is a triangle. I can't draw today. Okay. So like we put that there. And then, okay. So then the other two we have are track and car. Okay, so looking at the screen now, if we remember, the track didn't have all that much, like in terms of KPIs. Yeah, we had 3. So let's maybe land those here.
Yeah.
Since we've got a small spot. And we're going to land air and track temp, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we also wanted to look at wind. Wind, a little bit less concerning. Again, we weighted our KPIs to know that, but it's probably something useful to know, like if it kicks up, should we have that? And then the car is the most important over here for us from a services in terms of it's most important that we know we got a lot of stuff going on. So I want to do the car, but I want to do like a car pick. So something like really visual that like we land some things on top of a car so it looks meaningful, because it's hard to tell, like if you just put a visual up for a left front tire, if it's just like, where's the front of the car or the back of the car? How do I know?
You might just make someone hungry for donuts.
That's also true. That could be really ugly to do to somebody because donuts are delicious.
Yeah.
Although I will say this, just unpopular opinion, apple fritters, while not maybe considered a donut, current favorite donut. Just
sure.
Yeah.
Sure. They're in the family.
I mean, they are. They're at donut shops, but
That's
so are
right.
kolaches. So to call those the same, I don't. Anyways, it's an opinion. So we'll have a car pick. Oh, but you know what? The car stuff, we're going to land. We talked about landing like the tire, all that stuff. That stuff will show up cool on, on the car, right? On the corners. But we want to have like, we talked about sort of like there's gauges, like things that are general gauge things. Let's make like a dashboard at the top. That's like our dashboard of things.
It's your check engine light, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Check engine. Yeah, I like that. Okay.
Now, Corey, I did notice one thing that is missing from here.
Mm-hmm.
Since we are brainstorming right now.
Yes.
Position in the race. You have it right
I
there.
got
Never
position
mind.
right here.
Look at me. Sorry about that.
It's the most important thing, which is fine.
It is.
One thing I didn't call out that we will do is I want to figure out a way to use our service health scores in meaningful ways, because a lot of this stuff we're going to land as KPIs, but I want to move to like, let's maybe have a visualization that in the race we show the health score, and for the track we show the health score somehow, and sort of the same thing up here. We have the car health score, so we get like a one visual that sort of tells us, hey, how's everything going for each service, and then we can have like KPI things that tell us more stuff.
Okay.
All right. How do we feel about that? I'm curious. Does anybody have a different opinion on Twitch on ways we should lay things out, things that we should or should not do? We'll give them a moment to think about that. Okay. So the important thing to keep in mind is that, like we said, with any project like this, have an end in mind. Okay. I think we've got one. If we see anybody, Kyle, if you see anybody come back with a significantly departed opinion from what we have here so far, please clue me in.
Nobody said anything against yet, but I did let them know, hey, to upload anything they are drawing themselves in the Discord channel as well. John said he does not want to participate.
Okay, John's out. John has no desire. Okay.
Might be a lot of red. We don't know.
Spoiler alert, I have completed a version of this, but I'm not going to show it to you now.
Okay.
But what we're going to do is we're going to start from absolute scratch. So for those of you who've been with us before, this should look pretty similar or pretty familiar. We're in Splunk. This is running in Splunk Cloud. We are now looking at the app called IT Service Intelligence, as you can see. And in that IT Service Intelligence, we have a menu bar that has useful things here where we've gone and we've looked at our service overviews. We've looked at dashboards, we've configured things. But today we're working on glass tables, okay? So in a glass table, I'm going to start from scratch. And we're going to call this the data drivers glass table. And we're going to share it in the app. And my ask of you hackers is go build yours as well. But just put your initials or your name on it so that we can differentiate, because we're all sharing the same same environment.
You should call this the Reverend's glass table. So we know whose it is.
Okay,
Very
so that's
good.
the Reverend. I think it's the brother. I'm the
Okay, the Brotherhoods. Then we're getting real gamey. I don't know.
I'm Southern Baptist, so I feel like the right prefix should be like brother. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just leave it at that. Brother Corey. Okay. So there's Brother Corey glass table. We're going to open it, and what you will see when we open this is legitimately a blank canvas. It's unpopulated. It is a clean sheet of paper. Now, that could scare you off, but thankfully we've done a little bit of, visualization work up front to kind of know how we want things to go. Now, in our case, we don't really have a like a logical sort of transaction flow, as Bob talked about, where there's not like this, you get on the track and then you get into the car and then you win a race. There's not like this sort of flow. Whereas like in your San Francisco example, there was more of a flow idea. So in our canvas, we don't really need to work in that flow. But one of the things that that's really slick about glass tables is that it can bring static drawings or static images to life, and you can instrument static images. And what I mean by that is that if I click this edit button, you'll notice that I get a configuration window here on the right. And to orient everything we're doing in Glass Tables, you'll find a menu bar here at the top, which is super helpful for naming it, for moving, backing out of something you did or didn't mean to do, the ability to add charts. And there's various types of charts you can add. We'll talk about this in detail. There's the ability to add icons. There's the ability to add shapes. There's the ability to add images, and then plain text. Oops, I didn't mean to put them in there yet.
Not yet.
Easy.
And to your point, everything's a thing here. So the canvas is a thing. And
Correct.
That's why when you click on it and you open up the configuration, you can actually modify the thing, just like all of the other things that we're going to do in here.
That's right. So if you wanted your background to be any specific color, you can change it. We're going to keep ours sort of transparent for now because we're building it for a specific screen.
Yep.
Go ahead, Kyle. You were going to ask something.
This is starting to look oddly familiar, like a CAD program, like a floor planner or a drawing.
That is a very adept catch. It does feel very gooey in that like SketchUp sort of feel.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, that's maybe they designed it that way for the creative. I don't know. Okay, so we want to start with a canvas, and a canvas again is something designed to be like it's exactly that. It's like, what's the base thing you want on your picture? Probably a static sort of image. If there's a big visual depiction of your business process, it's probably a pretty good thing to start with. Or it's maybe something that you want to land some things on top of. Well, we talked about before, this is hopefully, if we do a good job, going to land on a screen at McLaren's their Shadow Studio. So what I did is I went out and grabbed one of their logo backgrounds that is available on their website. And it's designed for us to use as like a desktop background. So it's a nice, pretty image of pretty high resolution. And we're going to use that as our background. Now, you'll notice that it's a widescreen format. And part of the reason that I chose this image is actually intentional, because if you look at the monitors that most of the gamers are using today, they are the 32:9 ratio. They're the wide format, right? Sort of format ratio. So I'm thinking that this might end up on that sort of a screen. That's why we're using this particular canvas size. Okay. So now we have a background. It looks good. We don't have any color behind it, so nothing else will show up. I'm gonna leave that white for now, just in case we land things there, they'll show up. Okay, so we got it. Now, like anything within Glass Tables and ITSI, saving from time to time is generally a pretty good idea to make sure that you don't lose anything. So we'll save that. All right, so now we have a canvas that has at least a picture on it. So let's start with the things that matter most. You want to start there, or do you want to start with where? Oh, actually, let's do this. Let's start at the bottom of our service tree. Let's start with our track. I think the track will be a fun one to build and easy first.
Yeah, and that's only 3 services underneath it. So
right, those are easy.
In the industry, we call that low-hanging fruit.
Well, I'm glad we heard that was an industry term. Thank goodness you qualified it. For those who've never heard it, that would have been awkward.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that I told you all before that's super helpful is the ability to use support vector graphics. Now, what that means is it's a file type for an image, and really the real distinction you should think about is it's an image that can be edited intelligently by an application because the objects in the picture have been broken out and identified digitally separately so that they can be colored or changed individually. So a support vector graphics file has the ability to be modified of its individual objects. So even though there may be multiple things in the picture, individual components can be broken down. So I have preloaded, based on some of the work we did to sort of pre-build some things, I've preloaded some images, but if you wanted to add your own icon, if you have a support vector graphics file, you simply can drag and drop it, or you can click browse. And what's going to happen here is you're going to see that in that folder that I've shared with you hackers, in the data drivers, icons, and images, there's a folder called SVG. And in that folder, there is a bunch of SVG files that have logical names that you can use as icons, and that they will be intelligently leveraged by ITSI. So you can use any of those you want. In this case, we've actually already loaded a Creative Commons licensed version of Bristol's map, and we load it as an icon, and so you'll click it here. So looky there. Now we have a map of Bristol showing up on our, let me make this a little bit bigger so we can see it. Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we've got a picture of the map of the track, and we're going to move it over here. We don't want it to be quite so front and center on the top there, because remember our drawing, we're kind of going to drop it in the corner here. But what you'll notice in the configuration is there's a bunch of options, and the first option that is most important is that we can tie a data source to this image, and some magic will happen. So remember, we created all these fancy KPIs and services. Well, for this track, this is what I want to use to represent how healthy the track is overall. I'd like this track to tell that story. And the way we do that is we assign the service health score for the overall track to that image, and watch what happens. You'll see it turn.
Ooh.
Yeah, okay. So what happened there is that, remember that KPI, we had health scores and values that if they go below a certain level, they will show a yellow or a red color. Well, now that image is conveying to me that the track is healthy. All right, pretty cool. Okay, that's pretty handy. And you'll notice that the dynamic elements, they say customized in the source. That's because it's being customized by ITSI. I can change the position either here or drag and drop, and you'll see those change. And I can change the height and size. Okay, so that's a pretty easy one. We added an icon. Congratulations to us. But I want to actually surface, what do we say? Oh, like track temperature.
That's right.
I think that'd be handy. So in that case, I'm going to use a chart of sorts, but I'm just going to use what's called a single value.
You could do the radial if you wanted to, since it's temperature.
I don't hate that idea. Let's do that. Let's do a radial, single value radial gauge. All right. So there you go. You've got a gauge that's got nothing in it. Well, like other icons in data source, we have to give it a data source. So we're going to go back to track health, and we said this one's going to be our track temp, right? Hey now, look at there. It's given us a visual representation of what's happening. So now we've got a nice track temp gauge that we can make a little smaller if we want to, so it doesn't take up the whole space. And it's being updated. Its color is being changed based on the thresholds. It's pretty slick.
That's pretty cool.
Now, you can go in here and add a like a label if you'd like, and it adds it in line in the box. But in many cases, I actually find that the way that it forces labels, that it's actually not all that handy to make them tied to the graphic size. So as a best practice, I just generally don't do that. Bob, are you cool with that?
I'm nodding vigorously to agree with you on this.
Okay.
It feels like it's good for like a draft reference, but then when you're going to go present it back to like Blake, we wouldn't want to show just TRA ... right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The position, the formatting's good, but yeah, to do an actual label, I just always do the text. It's easier. You have more control. You can change the font. You can do. It's better.
I like having things being more discreet. I agree. So let's make our track a little bit bigger because I want to land a few of these things on here. Not interfere with the label too much. Okay. All right, cool. So let's make that white so it shows up like in a consistent way that our other things have. Font 24 is fine. No background color, no nothing. That's good. All right. So now we've got track temp. Sweet. Perfect. So now visualization, they can see not only, by the way, point of contention, this is in centigrade, so it's good to call it out. If we wanted it in Fahrenheit, we would need to simply create a metric that was a calculated metric, which we can do, but we didn't for this case. Because again, we started with Tobin, he's very British, so we gave him British values. All right, so now let's add one more. I'm going to do a single value just so we can see the difference because it's kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, we have two here, right? So
yeah. So we've got in the track health, we've got air temp we're going to grab. And that's way ginormous. So we're going to bring this over. Actually, you know what? I'm going to disagree. Let's not do that. Watch this. I'm going to delete this one. We have two things that we kind of like here that are going to live next to each other in the visualization. So why don't I use the feature called clone? So if you've already created something that you find generally useful, there's actually that ability to simply clone it and edit it for your next purpose. And so in this case, we're going to make this air temp. And then much like this one, you know what? Let's stick with it. Let's go clone it. And you see that it grabs the same sort of value, or the same sort of look and feel. But see, it's copied that same KPI. So all I do is while it's highlighted, I kill that as a data source, set up a new data source, go use air temp, and boogity boogity, we're racing.
Beautiful.
We have track and air temp on the same visualization.
Now, if I had any idea what 25 degrees Celsius meant, I'd be in business here.
That's true. It's a lovely, comfortable temperature. That's what you
is
should
it?
know.
Cool.
25 is nice. It's a little warm, but nice.
Okay.
37 is you are miserable. You're dying.
Well, that's the track. So
it's the track. So I do want to add one more icon here, just because. Well, I'm partial to Bristol being. It's basically the NASCAR track closest to where all of my family and friends are from. So I feel like we should really include their logo. So we found a Creative Commons licensed Bristol logo in SVG. Actually, no, I'm sorry. This one wasn't in SVG. We actually converted it. So if you literally Google convert PNG, oh, you put the link over there? Oh, perfect. Convertio. It's fantastic. So we converted it to an SVG. Thank you, Kyle. You're about as handy as a pocket on a shirt, buddy.
I'm telling you.
All right, so we're going to tie this one also to the service health score, just because that's sweet. And look at there, we got Bristol and green. We're green at Bristol.
And that color will change then as the health score changes, right?
It absolutely will.
that is correct.
All right,
Yeah,
so there's
cool.
one more metric, and that's wind. And wind is one that's kind of weird to represent. And so I'm actually going to use another feature called shapes. And so, and by the way, just those of you who are watching or hacking at home, you don't have to do it this way. If you have a strong opinion that you've drawn up a different one, go nuts. Or if you're watching this on recording and you're following along, you may build this however you like in the environment. And I'm going to throw this out there. You're probably better at it than us. And show it to us, because we're super happy to see what you're able to build.
Yeah. My mom always said I was a good artist.
Well, you should be behind the wheel here. Okay, so what I created here is a line, and this line, it's not straight, so we're going to straighten that up. And a line, not all that interesting, but I do know that we have the ability to add arrow points to the ends of lines, which is kind of cool. And so in this case, I'm going to make this one a little bit thicker so we can actually see it. Now, it's kind of like, my thought here is it's kind of the representation of a windsock.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah.
That's in the next version of ITSI, dynamic dynamic SVGs.
So then the question is do we have a windsock in our? I don't think there's a windsock in here in our folders.
Well, then it's extra credit.
There's an extra credit. Give me something better than a.
That's right.
Than this. Okay, so again, we're going to give it a data source. We're going to go to the track, and we're going to grab that last KPI. It's wind. And you know what? It's not obvious that that's wind, so we're going to give it a text value. Actually, you know what? That's not smart.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Do this. Clone that so that I get consistent font, look, and feel. This is how we make things scalable, folks.
Consistency.
All right. And look at there. Now we've got the wind, the track temp, the air temp, and the service health of our track on the screen. Pretty slick, huh?
Looks like a nice day to race.
It does. Everything's green, man. If it's green, let's go racing. Okay. Next up is I want to build the car first. This is just me because I want to get to it, and the car is really fun. Okay, so in this case, we're going to use the car sort of like we did our canvas. We just want it to be like an image. So we don't want to like necessarily change its color because the whole car's got more than just one component. So I'm just going to add an image here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to browse to my files. And I found on Blake's Twitter feed, I can't talk. If you follow, you should follow Blake on Twitter. Posts amazing pictures of his car on there on a regular basis. And you'll notice that now I have a handy dandy picture of his car. That is too small for anybody to do anything with. So we'll make it mucho bigero.
That's excellent Spanish.
It's, you know, it's my Spanglish. I'm IR from Tejas.
There you go.
Okay. Look at there. Now we've got an image that we can play with. I don't really want to change anything. And again, you saw us preserve aspect ratio so the car doesn't get awkward. That's handy from an art perspective. All right. So Kyle, what did Tobin tell us is the most important thing to keep an eye on?
I know. Tire health.
You didn't have to raise your hand. I said your name.
He asked you.
I get really excited when I know an answer, you know? Real excited. Like,
Clearly.
Yeah. High part of my day, you know?
Yeah. Okay. So fun story. While you could use the image of a tire to represent it, much like we've done with other icons,
That'd look
this
weird.
drawing doesn't lend itself very much to like having a big tire. It wouldn't fit
Right.
there. So I want to use another shape. And in this case, I'm going to use a rectangle. And it probably landed way over here. Yep. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to land this rectangle generally where a tire would be and make it closer to the size of what the tire might actually look like under the car. Keeping in mind, I dare not cover up the beautiful Splunk logo on said car.
That's right.
That would be a travesty. But that's a boring box. So I want it to look more like a tire. So I'm going to give it a radius on the edges, which you know, in AutoCAD we'd call it a filleted edge, and you define the radius of a fillet. But that's from my high school AutoCAD class.
Wow.
Yeah, I did that. You're welcome. And I probably got it wrong actually. I'm threw it out there like I know something. All right, so now we have a filleted edge. That looks kind of nice, but we don't want this to be static color. We want to do what we've done previously. Give it a value to dictate color. So we're using my car. That's okay. I know we're saying we're building this for Blake, but we'll switch it to Blake whenever it makes sense. Okay. So that is what tire? Kyle, which tire?
That is the right front tire, my friend. I have researched this. I looked it up, consulted professionals. 4 out of 5.
I want an easy question. Can I get an easy question?
Here's an easy question. Why is it red? Why is it red, Bob?
Oh, well, that's a great question. And if you go back up to the top, yeah, go back. Okay, do the edit. Do the edit on the data. Edit KPI? No, kill that. Dang it.
No, there's an answer that doesn't include it's domain expertise, not. No, it's red because we know it's crossed a threshold.
Yeah. But I wanted to show you, and this is different too.
I know why.
Why, Kyle?
Because Corey's bad at driving.
I said you. I thought you'd actually know it. Not to. That's
Ryan Plass jumping in. Jumping in. It's
he's also right.
It's hot. That's why. Yes.
Okay,
well
so
played.
yeah, take that off. Delete that from your thing, and we're going to reselect it real quick.
Okay.
No, not that. Undo. We're getting a look at all the features here, though. You can undo. Look at that. Okay, so now let's select it, and let's take off the KPI. Yeah, there you go. Okay, now let's set it up again. Because you talked about something really early on, where you wanted to be able to ensure that you're going to see specific KPIs in one place, but also service health scores in another place. In this list here, we see how those are all broken out. Everything below service health score is a specific KPI that rolls up into this service.
Correct.
And that's kind of something we should be aware of when we're going through to link data up to objects in this. So
correct. So that's a good point. So the reason I was looking for the answer why it's red is really simple. It's because you go fast and turn left for most races in NASCAR. And if you go fast and turn left, which tire is going to take the largest beating?
But this one you go right. Wait, really? Is that right?
If you turn left,
Really?
if
I
you
guess
turn
because
left-
of the weight, huh?
yeah,
Pushes.
the car, it's pushing.
G forces.
Huh.
The inside. Think about when you run. If you're running and you want to turn left and you want to juke left, which foot do you plant with?
You're outside.
Your right foot. You plant with the right and you go
Yeah.
that way, right?
No
Same idea
kidding.
with a car.
Look at that. I'm learning
If you
things.
don't believe us, listen to your data.
Yeah.
That's well said, Kyle.
Oh my God.
Okay, so that's
I
red.
love Splunk, and that made me go up.
Oh, come on. That was a good dad joke.
I think marketing called and they said they want their bumper sticker back.
Yeah, I'm probably, my internet's going to get killed in a second. And, that's okay.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Okay, so we got a tire. That's cool, but it's red. But is that meaningful? I actually kind of like adding sometimes the value to a shape.
Yeah.
That helps me kind of understand like how into the red am I? And so like I might want to put this up here and give me a little just a readout of that in a real sort of condensed sort of number. So I'm going to land me a value here that is a set up the data source. We're going to use that same tire value. And I want to create it so it's 136 degrees Celsius. That's pretty stinking hot.
That's
We gave it the unit label. That's good. But I don't want that background to, again, show up white. That looks weird. I just want the number to show up maybe here. Okay. So now I know that tire is red and it's 136 degrees. So those things will change color together, but I actually get the numeric value. That's pretty rad.
So another option, by the way, just because you want to give people options, is because your tire is following the thresholding, you could actually not threshold this, just make it white, put it over your tire, overlay it, and then you'd have the tire changing color with a white number giving you the value all the time.
I like that even better than what I was doing. I like that much better.
mm-hmm.
There you go.
You are very fancy. Look at there. So now the tire is the visual indicator of temp, but you have the numeric value that will show up on whatever color it is. Dude, that's a good call, Bob. See, this
Thanks.
is why they pay you the big bucks as the SME for us. That's
And these are
fantastic.
but these are design choices. You know, it may
They
be
are.
that you want to do it the other way, and the great thing is that you have the flexibility to go either way here.
100%. And then you can also build. I think we should do tire wear because that's going to dictate if we need to do like a pit stop. So I think we add in Kyle, remind me, is the tire wear? It's a percentage value, yes?
Yes, I will verify, but I believe it is the percent of tire tread left. But
It's the remaining tread.
remaining. Yep.
I got Corey hooked on the radial.
You kind of got me excited about it, if I'm honest. Okay. So I think you're wrong. I think it's the tire. It's the
It came out with a percent.
it's a percent consumed. I think the way we have that, it's the percent used.
So as it gets higher, it goes
It gets
red.
worse. So if it gets to 100, you're in deep trouble.
I have verification from my son.
Yes. Okay. All right. So there we've got those. And the cool thing is, again, for our, we're not going to build all this out for every single tire, but you could simply use that clone function, pick them up, drop them in the right places, change the data source to the left front tire temp. And look at that. You've got a tire that's not so hot. And you could do the same thing with this value. Land it right here. Oh, did I already change it? What happened there? And right, left front tire
Temp. And those, anyone brought up those check marks yet?
Not that I'm aware of.
While you're doing this part, I'll chat for a second, and eventually we'll get back to selecting a data source. And if you'll notice the check marks when we're doing a data source selection in here, you might have to kill it and
Oh, I know what
open
you're
it
talking
up
about.
again.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Let's do one. Let's do an overall. I need an overall.
Yeah, let's do the next. Let's do it on the next one.
Overall health score
Yeah.
of like how the whole race is doing, or how the whole car is doing. So I have this icon called race car that I thought was kind of a cool, like a cool one to use for just the overarching service health. Kind of like that check engine light.
Yeah.
So here we go. Set up primary data source. We're going to use here. Now see the check marks. This is what Bob was talking about.
So these check marks are showing you KPIs or service health scores, basically data sources that are in use on your glass table at the moment. So now if you'll notice, we've selected tire temp twice because tire temp is the tire shape and it's also the actual single digit value.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you went in to do the second one for tire temp, it had a check mark by it, but it allows you to hit it again because, again, style. This is all about how you want to do it. You can, you could have 30 of them on there for the same KPI if that's really what you want to do. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but
it feels crazy, but you could.
But with 2, even it showed how valuable that was too. You know, because
Right.
we do want the numeric value, but we also want the visual of the color. Then,
Right.
so it's we don't have to take the extra half or millisecond to look at the number if we just know it's yellow. Right?
Yep. And this gives you a quick visual representation, like, oh, I have used that KPI, or no, I haven't, and that way you don't have to, you know.
And by the way, what happened there was we just went through a pit, and guess what? You know why this is now yellow? And but you would think, wait, it's colder. We said hot was bad, right? No. Remember, you can have KPIs that it can be a value below can be bad and above, but there's like a normal operating range. So in tires, that's exactly what you're seeing here is that we have a range where a tire, when it's first swapped out, it's cold. And when we're in the races, like you go into turn 1, your tires aren't warm enough to really be sticky. So you want them to come up to a racing temperature to where they're grippy. And so that tire's cold and the outside tire's already warmed up. So
good timing. It's like you planned it.
I wish I could say that. Also fun, serendipitous sort of, you'd think is good planning. Do you notice how that icon looks incredibly similar to the Splunk color gradient? I'd like to say that I did that on purpose. That is pure dumb luck, folks. And I'm really glad. And so Brandon should be proud of me. We're representing the gradient well. But we're going to kill the gradient now with a service health score. And guess what? Now we know, just from a look at one icon, how's my car generally doing? Like that's the first thing that, the spotter should look at as they pan up, as she looks over. Is that green? Yeah, we're good. Good. But you can also do some other things like little icons for gauges, like your, I don't know, we need to do gasoline. Make this one smaller.
Those temperatures or the colors are just spot on.
They're so Splunky. It's incredible.
Yeah. Very cool.
And this one we can do fuel level. And so you can see it's yellow.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, we got a little, I don't know. How's that going? Maybe we set our threshold wrong. But you know what, on this one, let's do something fun. Let's actually force and do one of these where we include the value. And we know this one's in liters. We don't really need a trend in this case because I don't think our trending is all that indicative of what's going on. Let's do 24. And then let's make this.
Jeez, you just really like burning up that tire.
I'm ugly to tires. I'm actually not very good at racing. It's probably the best thing to think about.
Oh my God, Andrew almost out of gas again.
You know, I don't want to use that label. I decided again that I disliked it.
It made it a bit trickier then.
It does.
So yeah, those incorporated values are kind of, I feel the same way about those as I do about the labels. Remember we talked about the labels, doing them individually. I feel like you get a lot more flexibility in doing a shape and then whatever you want to show in the shape, and then also just doing a single value somewhere, and that way you get to manage both of them individually.
I don't know if this one's actually going to work. I didn't actually try this earlier.
We'll do it live.
No!
I love it.
That is so good. I'm glad that actually worked. Get out of here, you. You're dead to me.
Oh, I
This is-
liked the
Dash
icon
cam?
though. Why don't you
No.
put the icon next to it?
Nope. This is it.
No.
Okay, we
All
can
right.
do that. That's fine. Fine. See that undo feature? Ryan Plass.
Beautiful.
I know you loved it. Get on.
Oh,
the
let's actually, can
Make
you
this transparent.
right click? Yeah, you can do that.
Woo, woo.
And then another thing, if you right click on the oil barrel, you can't right click on it. There's a bring to front. Where's the bring to front?
Oh, it's right here. Layers.
There you go.
So you can bring to front. So if you find yourself where one's over the other, it does
Right.
have the layering function, which is kind of a new feature.
Yep.
That you can actually move things back, forward, much like you did. You've probably seen in like Google Slides, that kind of thing. Or
Yeah,
PowerPoint.
Visio, OmniGraffle, any of these.
I feel like this is duplicative, if I'm honest.
All right, all right.
I'm just telling you, it's not. It doesn't make me feel beautiful, and I'm here to be beautiful. All right, so fuel. Nope, we're not going to do that. Remember, we're smarter than that, boys and girls. We're going to grab things that we've already created so that we capture our design essence.
This is a gentle reminder to save your progress so far as well.
Boom, saved.
Thank you.
All right, look at that. Now I got the fuel on there. Isn't that cool? All right, I'm done with the car. That's good enough. We get the point, right? It's some gauges. Let's go.
You only got two tires on that car, don't you?
Yeah, but it's all right. You can build that out as homework, folks. It'll be a fun project. Okay, let's build a few just for the outcome. And if we remember, our number one sort of thing that we care about is what position are we in, right? That's our thing. So let's do an icon for position, and let's make it a. Do we want to use the metal, or do we want to use? There's a podium.
Ooh,
Let's try the podium one. I think the podium might be fun.
you got podium.
Yeah, because I think we want to put a number over this. So I think the podium probably has better space to put a number on. I'm thinking.
See, the problem I think I had with it is it already has numbers in it.
Ah,
See, that's why I
yeah,
don't like
metal. Metal.
metal.
Maybe a nice load balancer.
Can you tell this thing's used for IT, folks?
It's kind of awesome though that like
Well-
a lot of what your use cases would be are already in there. But if you want to
Also, how about extending the capability of a thing built for IT to do this? Good God.
Right? That's what we call the data to everything platform.
hey,
I've heard
You're
that
welcome,
before.
marketing. You're welcome.
we need a bell to ring, you know?
Yeah. I think our new CMO is very proud of us. Of leveraging we're on brand, I like to say. We're going to make this bigger because it's super important.
And I think this actually does also, if I can step into what this product was originally intended to do, that's exactly the point here, right? Like we've got a whole bunch of other stuff going on this field, or on this glass table, and that's awesome that we get to see the relationship with everything. But at the end of the day, like, what is the point of racing a car?
100%.
If you're not first, you're last. And I don't know. I might have just broken copyright rules on that one, huh?
I don't know. Don't talk about it. Just don't worry about it.
But so this is obviously the most important thing. So yeah, man, let's make it big. Let's make it. This is what we want to communicate, right?
All right. There you go. We're in current position 3, and that's a color of meh. You're in a podium, so you're okay, but it's not ideal. You want to be in first to get the points. All right, current position. And then, one thing Kyle and I have in common is we worked at a company called Dell, little company. I don't know if you heard of it. They make computers and amongst other things, but they're also a fantastic sponsor of McLaren's racing efforts. So we want to represent our frames per second, our frame rate, as again one of those things that could basically tell us that our race is not going so well. So from an icon perspective, I went out and grabbed a picture of a sweet Dell G5 gaming rig and SVGified it. And so what we'll do here is we'll drop a little G5 right here, and we'll color pop this bad boy with our frame rate. And boom, it's green, right? That's super cool. And then what we're also going to do is we're going to add that value over the top of it. The way I liked your design idea of the white letter over it. I really dig that. So we'll pop that there, and look, it's already got the FPS on there.
So whoever built these services knew what they were doing. So, John.
Hey, John had a lot to do with it. You are 100% correct. How did you know? Yes, we are dependent. We're standing on the back. We're standing on the shoulders of giants. Let's be honest.
Bingo.
Kind of cool. It's like a little bit bigger than the computer. That's kind of fun. All right. So we could build some more things in there, but I think we've gotten to a point now. And again, we're at about an hour and 20 minutes in. So I want to be respectful of some folks' time. The idea here, I think we've shown you, and Bob, tell me if I'm wrong. I think we've shown most of the features that are, sort of the things that you need to know to get started with a glass table. Hopefully what you've seen is that we're using, you didn't see me write any code,
nope.
Right? I edited no CSS, no HTML, none of that. It's all a graphical user interface that, by the way, this is a great story too of like in your day job, if you as an IT, administrator, an SRE, a data analyst, if you know how to build the underlying KPIs and services for your business users, teaching business users how to use something like glass tables can really allow them to start to build the visualizations for themselves that matter, right? And they bring their domain expertise. And that's one of the, a lot of my career prior to being at Splunk was really working with companies on developing sort of your big data strategy. And that's one of the things that we always talked about, that really what made data science and data projects win is when you combine somebody who had like really, really good technology skills, right? They understood the tech, the applications, systems, interconnectedness. You combined them with somebody that had the math and the analysis, statistical skills with another person, or maybe if it's all one person, that had domain expertise, right? And in order to be successful with any of these projects, you need kind of all three. And that's why I think we've been leading up people like you, Bob, and John LeBon, and Jenna, and Harnett, and others to help maybe take our domain expertise and our data analysis capabilities and have y'all help us solve the problem. So go nuts, hackers. You've got access to the environment. Build your dashboards. I do want to show, just as a, kind of a fun, what it might look like. Here's one that I built over the last week that I think shows kind of cool. And it actually, what's fun is that, yes, it shows well, but it also shows that I took some design direction differently than you, Bob. And I'll tell you that I think you made mine better. And so I think this is another one of those where these exercises of making this a collaborative, iterative process to get the visual to be meaningful is you should make it a group effort.
Totally. And one last plug for glass tables is, why wouldn't you build this in a Splunk dashboard? And the reason is we're telling a story. Right now, the story is what's going on in the race, what's going on in the car. And you can't do that in a dashboard. And by the way, you'd probably have to write some SPL and do all the things you talked about. So yeah, this is amazing, being able to just produce a visual picture of what's happening right now. I love the fact too that all this stuff's been changing for us as we've been watching it, right?
Yeah, thanks, John and Kyle. That's all because there's data streaming. It's as if there's a race going on. They've actually created a data gen where it's picking that Bristol race up, and every time it runs until the end, and then it runs again, and it runs again, and it runs again. So we constantly have data. So hackers, that's kind of a unique thing to have an environment that real data is streaming constantly for you to see your efforts pop in real life. So thanks again, Kyle and John, for making that possible. You all will see this in the Boss of Ops and Observability coming up at .conf. And I want to go back to our slides real quick. So we began with the end in mind. We did get our collaborative hack on, and I feel terrible that I didn't share this slide to get us started.
Is that a banana?
On the keyboard? Yeah,
Yes.
Don't worry about it. It's fine.
Got to get your potassium.
It's
Okay.
awkward. So, folks, I think we achieved the objective today, which is we built a meaningful visualization using Splunk's IT Service Intelligence, specifically the glass tables, building on the KPIs and services that you all have built with us in these hackathons, and something that I think is really going to be helpful to the Shadow McLaren team, both Tobin and a lot of the things they're doing with F1 that we'll start to build towards, but definitely for the F1, for the eNASCAR team at Blake and Alan. And I'll tell you, if you didn't get a chance, if you're following along, go build this stuff, play with it. I'll tell you, our homework for you for the next thing you can do is go do something cooler than we did. Like, I know there's a bunch of really creative, smart folks. Ryan Plass, I'm looking at you, buddy. I know you take a good artful eye to the things that we've done so far, specifically in your car design. That is way sweeter than mine. And so if you do something awesome, share it with us on the Discord channel, post it on Twitter, candidly. And we can't give out like prizes or anything like that. But if you're really interested and you participate, we've got some tchotchkes and stuff that are going to be available at .conf, and we can probably find some stickers and some fun stuff to head your way. So that's your homework. Join us next time. As I said, this is going to be useful to the McLaren Shadow team, but I'll tell you what we're doing next time is actually building some things specifically for Blake and Alan. We actually had a conversation with Blake last week and early this week. We did some demos. So what we just built is going to be super cool for the spotters. What we're actually going to build next is some dashboards that give real-time metrics insights for in-race view. So something Blake would actually look at during the race. And then actually going to build a few things that would be kind of build on this idea of investigation, where they're going to be able to look at the ways that certain parameters have been set in car setups and how they affect things like tire wear and tire temp over time, and start to build those dashboards and maybe the deep dives. And that's one thing we didn't get to. I didn't show the deep dives today, but we'll show the next time that will actually be used by the racers and the setup builders. Bob Lyons, Kyle Prince.
Deep dives need their whole thing, so it's fine.
Yeah, I know. That's true. I want to say thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. I want to shameless plug. .conf is going to be a ton of fun. Again, big shout out to the Boss of Ops and Observability team that is putting on what is always the year's biggest event in the conf event, both on site and virtual. Be sure to sign up as soon as you can so that we can kind of plan for how many people are going to be hanging out with us in Vegas. But definitely sign up. And again, Data Drivers is going to have a big experience there. So if you've had fun doing this, we can guarantee you'll have some fun at .conf. Thank you all for joining us. Bob, Kyle, you're awesome. Hackers, you're more awesome. We are super thankful for you all joining us. We hope that you've enjoyed it. Whatever you're into, be data-driven and continue to join Data Drivers.